signatures for Draft Bernie for People's Party, and organizing and keeping the momentum going from the 2016 campaign, so that when he decides to detach from the Democratic Party, which we think he will and he should, we're going to be ready. We're going to be ready for him and to run him and other progressives in the People's Party.
And the reason I'm for People's Party is because the Democratic Party does not represent us. They represent the big donors, and we need a party for the 99 that cares about all the people and not just the big donors. And we need fair elections so that our vote actually counts. And the People's Party is the way to do that, because Bernie Sanders is not only the most popular politician of our times, but it's been demonstrated in the times of Lincoln 100 years ago, when he had a party within a party of the Whig Party that did not support the platform of pro-slavery. And so they all left the party, and in 4 years created the Republican Party. So we can do it again, and we are going to do it again. So join us at draftbernie.org, sign our petition, donate for the future, and let's build this revolution. We can do it.
I think we're already going into corporate feudalism, because both parties are owned by corporations, and Bernie is the one that really wants to listen to the people. So,
do you have any faith the Democratic Party can be renewed?
I have no faith that the Democratic Party can be reformed. In fact, the Democratic Party and their neoliberal policies have brought us to Trump. After all these years, they forgot about the working people, and they're corporate backed, and that's what matters to them. I don't see them changing.
And trying to build a political party that is a real progressive party, and following the platform that Bernie has set out, and eventually we'll have our members set our platform. So I think it's going to be very successful, and I see more and more people joining us.
We got at least 1,000 signatures here. I think we're at least over 40,000.
Not to be so concerned about people's political labels. What I have found that if you talk about the issues, if you go up to your Republican friends and you say, hey, do you really think it makes sense, as the Republicans in Washington would like to do, to give trillions of dollars in tax breaks to the top 1% and then cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid? Do you really think that makes sense? That corporate media is not particularly interested in our issues, the issues that impact working families, but very often they prefer 6-second sound bites and endless discussion about political gossip. In fact, in the last presidential election, there was less discussion about the real issues impacting the American people than in any election in American history. And I also understand that over 90% of talk radio is right-wing or extreme right-wing. I got all of that. I know that. That's what we're up against.
Bernie Blackout News here in Chicago. Luckily, we got a letter under our door, so we know that's filming a movie called Rampage that you'll see in a month or two. Like crazy, like downtown helicopter flying by film people. We're in Chicago for Bernie Blackout News, and the People's Summit is down the way. You want to go see some of our friends? Let's go to the People's Summit.
Well, I live in Washington. I live among Democrats. I spend all my time around these people. And there is a certain will to complacency with them. And you saw it in the Hillary campaign, but you also see it in their response to Trump, which is basically, this guy is going to self-destruct. He's going to be like Nixon, and we're going to sweep back in. As you know, the Democrats swept in the early 70s once Nixon had disgraced himself with Watergate. And we don't have, this is what the Democrats think, we don't have to do anything different.
Lord have mercy. I mean, Thomas.
No, they really think this.
I know.
And you know they do. You've been around them.
Oh, I know. I want to connect this to the first question the previous question about the conservatives, right? Or the Conservative Party or the Republican Party or anyone apparently on the other side. We got a lot to learn from them, honestly, right? They're simple people. Make America great again. I wake every morning trying to make America great. Their language is accessible to the people. They talk the people's language, right? They're taking your jobs. This is not fair, very basic. And honestly, we in the progressive left have to learn basic universal language that brings everybody to the table. The title of it, we're talking about neoliberalism. I challenge you to go into immigrant communities around this country, poor communities around this country, people with literacy rate levels 6th grade or down, or people who don't have high school diploma, and explain to them what neoliberalism is, or what heteropatriarchy, or what we have created a lexicon in the progressive movement that is not accessible. So they've been playing on universal language that brings even those white working class people to the table, because those people understand what they're saying. So let's start with accessibility. What we also have to do in the progressive left as we're running, and what the Democratic Party has to do, thinking that they don't have to do anything, which is why they lost, is why they don't do anything. The conservatives do what they're supposed to do. They're actually following the rules. They play to their base. The Democratic Party got to play to the base. We want a party that says single-payer health care. We want an anti-war party. We want a party that wants criminal justice reform. We want a party that wants bold immigration reform, not any old establishment status quo immigration reform. So they have to learn to play to the base. And to be honest, Thomas, how bad can it get? How bad can it get? This is the pretty bad. For our generation, this is the worst that it's going to get. So if people were complacent before, they're even more complacent now, because they're just like, damn, this is just how it is, I guess, right? So the Democratic Party, if they don't start being innovative and dynamic and play to the base, then you know what? Eventually, the long term, we may need to start a third party. Sisters and brothers, if we learned anything from those across the Atlantic in a place like the UK in their recent elections, is we need a multi-party system. This just doesn't work for us. It has never worked for us. So yes, in the interim, I'm with you all on the short term. 2018, let's drop some progressive Democrats in the down ballot from the bottom to the top. I'm on that train. But we need the strategic thinkers, the donors, the politically minded to get into a room together, put our differences to the side, and say, what does it look like to put together a strong, intersectional, progressive party that brings us all to the table? And it is possible. It hasn't just been done. So just because it hasn't been done doesn't mean that it is impossible. So let's do the short term and the long term. And also, we got to get away from that conversation about what did we do wrong during the 2016 elections. We already know what went wrong. Very clear to me. What we got to do is, whatever we did wrong, let's start doing it right. And let's start building power. And let's not continue to be married to a two-party system that does not work for the American people. And we got to go back to the grassroots. We got to go back to the knocking on every door. We got to go back to ask people what they care about, because we in the progressive left are oftentimes very elitist. We think we know what people care about. Sometimes you knock on a door and an old lady tells you, that pothole right there, it's been 10 years and no one has fixed that pothole. And you probably think she cares about Social Security. She probably does, but that might be third on her list, that she's focused on that pothole. Let's talk about what our people care about. Let's go to those doors. Let's make sure that our tables are diverse and we're bringing all voices to the table. Let us show the Democratic Party what it truly looks like to build a party that is about democracy, that is about progressive, that's about the people, that is led by the people and is led by the people's money, which is the most important part.
I mean, I started out my life as a historian studying a movement called populism. The People's Party, they called themselves. And it was the last really big effort to start a third party in this country, and it was a success for a while. And then they got absorbed into the Democratic Party. And there has never been a really successful third-party effort. I mean, they didn't just run presidential candidates, you know, like Ross Perot or something like that. They ran people all up and down the ballot, and they won. In a place like Kansas, they took over the state. A lot of states they did. And this was the last time it ever happened. I love third-party movements. And in the 19th century, you had a lot of them. And the reason that you had so many of them in the 19th century should be very obvious to us now, is that if you only have the two-party system, and the two-party system is enshrined in law, is protected by law so that they have a legal monopoly, or a duopoly, the two parties, that you will inevitably, they will come to terms in the center, right? They'll reach some kind of agreement or then some other version of sort of economic game theory. And you have to have third parties that come along every now and then to say, no, you have to address these issues over here. Most famous example is, right, the Whigs and the Democrats in the 1840s and 50s would not talk about the issue of, yes, slavery, the biggest issue in American history. And the two-party system wouldn't address it. And so you had a third party crop up and force them to talk about it. The Republicans, in that case, from right here in Illinois. And then the populists came along in the 1890s and forced the two-party system to talk about inequality, industrialization. Again, right here in Chicago, all over the Midwest. Well, we're at that kind of stage, again, where the two-party system has manifestly failed us, where one party takes its base for granted, takes us for granted, and the other party is in this headlong race to the right, you know, and just pushing the spectrum again and again and again, as far to the right as they can go. It's an extraordinary situation. And we desperately need to figure out a way to intervene and to make this thing stop and to turn this thing around and get this country back on track.
They have been very, very disciplined about having a long-term agenda, which we have lacked. We have been very stuck in the 2-year, 4-year electoral cycle. We have been stuck in electing the lesser of two evils. We have been stuck in going for the name recognition. We have been doing very short-term, not even strategies, but ways of working that are based on fear, you know, and that are based on this weakness in our spine in terms of speaking truth, in terms of putting race, you know, front and center, and many other things. So for me, we begin with the long term.
When I say movement, I mean all of us. We get to approve the membership cards of those who say that they are part of our resistance. You can't just go on national television and start telling people you're part of the resistance. You got to show me those receipts. What does it mean to be part of the resistance? So, I don't wake up every morning to resist this administration thinking about, okay, what's my relation to the Democratic Party and how am I going to bring the Democratic Party into this? The resistance that we're a part of, and really, we have to also clarify, which this conference is called Beyond Resistance. And let me tell you why that's important. Resistance is reactionary. Resistance is about survival. We are part of a revolution, because we're not trying to maintain the status quo, we're trying to change it up. We're trying to make something different for our people. So, I say, let the Democratic Party play catch up with us. We move forward, we focus on our people, we push forward our platform, we keep going to the left, and let them follow us to the left. I'm tired of our movements going toward the center. Because people want to know what's ahead and what we're all going to do. The Women's March on Washington is now Women's March. And after the Women's March on Washington, we had a lot of assets, a lot of people, a lot of energized organizers. And we weren't just going to leave that behind and say we just did a march. So the Women's March is now a political C4 organization. We also have a C3 arm of our institution.
We've got to go down ballot. And right now we're watching a special election for Congress in Georgia, where it's the most expensive congressional race ever, Jon Ossoff running, right? And yes, we need to win these races, we need to take back the House, but he's already raised $23 million, on his way to $30 million. And this is a guy who does not, and a lot of that money is from progressives, right? Progressives are raising money, sending their small dollar donations to Jon Ossoff's campaign. Does Jon Ossoff support Medicare for all? Does he support single payer? No. You know what he said a couple days ago? He said we need a lot less ideology around this healthcare debate when he refused to say he supported Medicare for all. Right? There's already a lot of ideology around healthcare, right? The ideology is healthcare is a product. You have to shop for it on the free market. That's their ideology that they're trying to shove down our throats, right? We have an ideology too, which is that healthcare is a human right, right? So, and there are fights that where we can win this in California, right? We passed Medicare for all thanks to the leadership of the nurses, right? And a lot of people. And what if instead of spending all that money to build up Ossoff's war chest, where he's not going to support our issues, right? He's going to be a D, but that's it, right? What if we took half that money and put it in a fund and we say any legislator in California that votes against Medicare for all or works behind the scenes against Medicare for all, we're going to use that money to like put you out, right? You're going to be out. So we've got to go down ballot and support people that run on our platform. Larry Krasner won the Democratic primary for DA, running to end mass incarceration, and we have record turnout, right? So I agree, we got to support people, support our issues, and we got to go down ballot and look for long term. But this is where we need to be, and there are places where we don't need to be. Let the corporate Democrats take back the House with these corporate Democrats.
Right? Comment. It's like this idea that we're going to change everything in 2018 if we gain control as a Democratic Party of the Congress is ridiculous. Because we are confronting 40 decades, my friends, of a steady move towards the right. Trump, by the way, for us, it was horrible to have him, but not a shock. Because Trump doesn't happen overnight or in a vacuum. Trump happens after 40 years of this kind of long-term strategy.
What we want to do is exhort people to join us in this fight going down ballot. A lot of us look at the federal races, they look at the presidential race, but we're building an amazing farm team down ballot. County prosecutor races, supervisors of elections, state legislatures. We have got to get involved. You've got to run for office, and we've got to help each other run for office. I've started something called the Real Justice PAC, right, to help people who believe in ending mass incarceration run for district attorney, right? And we've all got to work on these races at the same time while we're trying to build up through the federal races.
And Nina Turner spoke to it. Be in heart and soul connection and relationship, right? Too much head stuff is getting in the way from our real connecting with people at the heart level. And then the last thing I'm going to say is build community. Because as we're doing the hard thinking, as we're doing the numbers, as we're doing the strategy, we have got to find ways to connect with each other in community. Community for me is perhaps the biggest act of rebellion, of turning this stuff around, because we do live in an economic system, okay, I won't call it neoliberalism, but we do live in an economic system that fragments us as a human being, that divides us, that tells us that we are individual, that tells us this is a very competitive dog-eat-dog kind of world, that is fragmented around issues as though all of those things didn't happen in me all at once. So those are the three things: stay grounded, nurture heart and soul relationship, and build community. And we will do it.
The Democratic Party is not a party of the people anymore. It's a party of the corporations.
It has totally become a corporatized party under the control of Wall Street and donors. And Bernie proved that there's a tremendous demand out there for progressive representation, and that people are ready to abandon the Democratic Party. So if he makes the jump to a new party, he would bring with him, we wouldn't be starting from scratch, he would bring, we would bring with him millions of followers and the ability to raise a lot of money. And so we would have a party all ready to go. And then you'd see some of these progressives in the Democratic Party move over to the new party also. And so he has a tremendous opportunity at this point to make a historic change in American politics.
So truly, we need to get woke and stay woke on all levels. Stay strong, my relatives. Thank you.